Hello everyone! You may not have seen any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but you've surely heard of its characters more than once. However, in the movies, we only see some parts of the Avengers characters' personalities from the comics. The most interesting stories can be found in the first screen adaptations and in the comics, on which the movies are based. Now we are going to show you how the superheroes and villains changed over the decades. We are sure that their evolution will surprise you. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We will have even more interesting videos in the future. Let's get it on! Hulk. Some people think of the Hulk as the shallowest character in the Avengers universe. He's just a huge giant with a strange skin color. What's the like? All his actions are motivated by anger. But is this true? Apparently, it's not that simple. Let's start by talking about the characters that inspired the creation of the Hulk. The creators have admitted on several occasions that the character is based on Frankenstein.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
And the protagonist of the novel, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This last parallel is quite obvious. That book tells the story of a mad professor who, after a scientific experiment, learned to become a dangerous criminal, and at some point, stopped controlling the transformation process. That's exactly what happens to the Hulk. He lives in the body of the brilliant scientist Bruce Banner, who can sometimes control the consciousness of the angry giant. Oddly enough, the development of the character in the original comic books is very different from the movies. In the early comics, the Hulk became more ferocious with each passing year, gradually losing his sanity. At one point, his power became so overwhelming that he became the main antagonist of the Marvel Universe. But in the movies, the screenwriters decided to choose a different path for the character. Thus, in the latest Avengers movie, we see a more human side of the Hulk. Visually, the hero has also changed a lot. Just see how he looked like in his first TV version, the Incredible Hulk series from the 1970s and 1980s. The big, muscular character could scare anyone, but still, compared to Bruce Banner's modern versions, he mostly makes you smile. In 2003, the first feature film about the Green Giant was released, but it failed miserably. No wonder. This Hulk looks more like the wimpy giant Grop from Harry Potter than an invincible hero. On the contrary, the 2008 version, played by Edward Norton, is considered by many fans to be an iconic Hulk movie. In this film, the creators managed not only to create spectacular effects, but also to highlight all the strongest sides of the Green Monster. Then came the Avengers, and views differ here. Of course, thanks to modern technology, the Hulk has become as detailed as it had never been before. But some fans complained that the monster was turned into a weak and spineless goody-goody, giving too much prominence to other characters. Here's a curious fact. Even the Lego figure released specifically for the latest installment of the series smiles, although normally the Hulk grinds his teeth in anger. Tell us in the comments which is your favorite version of the character. Captain America. The story of one of the key characters in the Avengers saga, Captain America, is very impressive. Before becoming a superhero, he was just a guy named Steve Rogers. During World War II, he tried desperately to become an American soldier, but was constantly rejected due to his frail physique and poor health. However, at some point, Rogers was asked to join a secret program creating an army of super soldiers. This is how the frail young man became a true killing machine with tremendous stamina and terrific strength. No wonder that for American fans, his image of a brave and self-sacrificing national hero has a special charm. But as is often the case, the first incarnations of Captain America on the TV screen were far from ideal. Today, the bizarre, baseball-helmeted superhero of the 1979 film seems a bit cartoonish. Nevertheless, contemporary audiences loved him. However, that didn't happen with the 1990 film, which critics and audiences simply trashed. Instead, the character of Steve Rogers was not very convincing. In 2011, a new era began for Captain America. Chris Evans was chosen to play this role in the Marvel Universe until the last film of the saga. The superhero finally got the aura of fearless savior and fighter against evil that many comic book fans were longing for. It's no wonder it was an incredible worldwide box office success. Since then, the Captain America of the film has grown more and more courageous over the years. Besides, he's grown a beard, become more muscular, and now fights evil with more ferocity. Spider-Man. Did you know that when Spider-Man comics author Stan Lee first proposed his idea to his boss at Marvel, the latter flatly refused? The reason was simple. Most people are afraid of spiders, so no one would like an arachnid superhero. We're glad Stan Lee managed to change his boss's mind after all, right? People who are not hardcore Marvel fans associate this character exclusively with Tobey Maguire, but Spider-Man has had many other incarnations. His on-screen story began in 1967 with an animated TV series, which half a century later became the source of many internet memes. But since 1977, a TV series with real actors was already being aired. Spider-Man in that version was played by Nicholas Hammond. Back then, the saga became a real sensation among Marvel fans, but it was clear that the project had a rather limited budget. The costumes alone look quite ridiculous. Today, they could only be seen at a Halloween party. After that came the famous trilogy, which took the story of Peter Parker to a whole new level. Spider-Man finally got a modern spandex uniform, along with a mask, glasses, and all sorts of gadgets, and thanks to new film technology, he began to perform incredible stunts on the screen. For many fans, this version has become a classic. But the evolution of the protagonist wasn't over just yet. In 2012, the Amazing Spider-Man appeared on the screens, and the superhero was played by Andrew Garfield. And a couple of years later, he was replaced by the young actor Tom Holland, who secured the role for the rest of the Avengers saga. Interestingly, in the film Infinity War, the protagonist even received an Iron Man armor, adding spectacular titanium elements to his suit. Iron Man. Tony Stark is not much younger than the other Avengers. He first appeared in the original comics in the early 1960s. However, this character only appeared on the big screen in 2008, when the first movie with Robert Downey Jr. in the title role was released. This is a rare case in superhero movies where the role of a certain character has always been played by the same actor, although who knows what'll happen in the future. But what is the most interesting thing about Tony Stark's character? His armor, of course. During his short cinematic history, it has undergone many changes that only the most loyal fans remember by heart. However, one should not think that without the armor, Iron Man is not capable of anything. The original comics reveal that he worked on his hand-to-hand combat skills and even received lessons from Captain America. It all started in 2008 with the simple Mark I armor that Tony Stark builds in an Afghan cave to escape captivity. In the first Avengers movie, we could see the 7th version of Mark, and then the armor's evolution becomes increasingly difficult to follow. In the last episode of the saga, Tony Stark dies in an armor codenamed Mark 85. Tell us in the comments which version of the armor is the best. Thor. Many consider Thor to be the most powerful Avenger of all, and perhaps they are right. After all, we're not simply talking about a superhero, but a god. For a long time, he was almost the only character in the universe worthy of lifting and controlling the hammer Mjolnir. Thor is able to control the sky, causing thunder and lightning. He defeated vicious enemies, and in a fight with Tony Stark, he also came out victorious. We don't think there's need to continue. This character, whose image is taken from Scandinavian mythology, first appeared in the original comics in 1962, but on TV screens, viewers only saw him in 1988 as part of the movie The Incredible Hulk Returns that we have already mentioned. There, the superhero was played by American actor Eric Allen Kramer. Back then, we already could see many of Thor's inherent attributes: his long blonde hair, precious hammer, and unusual armor in the style of the ancient Vikings. But it was a far cry from the spectacular image of Chris Hemsworth. The Australian actor began to play the most powerful Avenger in 2011, when the first film about Thor was released. In it, we saw an enhanced Asgardian armor with the red cape. However, in the case of Thor, the costume is not as crucial as in other superheroes. The Scandinavian god draws his incredible power from other sources. It is curious that in the final part of the Avengers, the protagonist underwent a very unexpected change.
Oh my god!
The usually slim and athletic Chris Hemsworth appeared on the screen portraying a fat Thor with a beer belly. No wonder, after all, Thor spent several years in seclusion after defeating Thanos. But the extra pounds the actor gained were not due to some crazy diets. Some very talented artists created a very believable costume for him. Deadpool. This character, who blew up the box office worldwide 5 years ago with his appearance in the movie of the same name, has a deeper history than it seems. Yes, at first glance, he is a hardened cynic with a dark sense of humor and lack of empathy. But in reality, the superhero has a tragic origin. We first saw Deadpool's alter ego, Wade Wilson, in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Here he is referred to as a merc with a mouth, but there is no mention of his superpowers. Only towards the end of the film do we see the mutated superhero with his mouth sewn shut. It turns out that he was subjected to insidious scientific experiments, like Hugh Jackman's character. As a result, Wade gained an incredible ability to instantly regenerate his cells and organs. He also has phenomenal physical endurance. But there was a problem. Along with his powers, the protagonist gained a disfigured face and some traumas. In the films of 2016 and 2018, we see Deadpool in his full image, a stylish black and red suit with a scabbard on the back and an unusual mask. By the way, in order for the viewer to catch all the facial movements of Ryan Reynolds when speaking under the mask, the cameramen had to shoot many scenes twice, first with the mask and then without it. Later, during the editing phase, these images were combined together to create very vivid facial expressions. In addition, for the unmasked scenes, Reynolds had to wear makeup for 7 hours to convey the full scale of the terrible things that had happened to him. Hold on a second. Do you want to see some crazy stories from real life? Nothing dull, only action. Only adventures, chases and fights, love confessions and sudden betrayals. Don't believe us? Follow the link and see for yourselves. Our animation channel Private Diary reveals the deepest secrets. Don't forget to subscribe.